So I actually got the idea from when Kyle Roof, who I think is the creator potentially, was on this show. And it's basically a way that you can scrape the data from the top ranking pages for a particular keyword. Google is doing this sort of thing at the moment where if you type something in, all of the pages will kind of be the same thing. So if it's a list post, like all of the top searches will be list posts. If it's an affiliate post, it's just showing the same thing all the time, which, personally I don't really like, but like as a user of the internet, but it is what it is. Use what it's doing and use it to our advantage. So it kind of gives you the average. So it might say, it'll give you a bunch of goals that you should be aiming for your page. So it might be, you should be aiming for 1,600 words, try and use the keyword 8 times, once in a subheading, and just little things like that you can do to optimize your page.
And it's a great tool. It takes a second to sort of like figure out how to use it. Did you find there was a little bit of a learning curve?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think I bought it at the start. It was one of those things where I had like 15 minutes spare and I was like, well, I'll just buy that sort of thing now and then I'll think about it later. So I logged in at the first time and I was like, oh my Lord. They've actually introduced in the last month or so, like an express version of it. So now you get an option to do like traditional or an express, and the express one makes it a little bit easier for you. It's not as in-depth, but I wasn't using all of the bells and whistles anyway because I didn't understand most of them. So it just gives you the basic stuff that sort of anyone can use, this is what I'm using at the moment.
Yeah, I agree 100% because I got it like right when it came out because, Kyle's a friend and he was like, check out the tool and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, it was a little confusing at first, but they actually have a lot of videos and tutorials, and they just put out a Chrome extension. So that really makes it a lot easier to work with. So I'll put a link out there for people to check out Pop. But I mean, I think it's a great way to, especially if it's not your first site. If it's your first site, Pop could be a little confusing at first, but your second site and so on, I mean, it's great. So
yeah, if you were to think about it like, I don't know, if you were trying to lose weight, Pop is like that apple cider vinegar that gets you like that extra little couple of percent. But if you're trying to start for the first time, it's just like, we'll just start with cutting your calories and we'll go from there. Like it's the extra little thing that if you know what you're doing, it works, but it would definitely be too much for someone who doesn't really, who's new to it.
And I think like sort of the perfect person is like you have a site that you've published content, you're getting traction, things are going okay, and you're not sure how to improve content specifically. So it gives you sort of a blueprint and framework to follow along in a prioritized way, and it makes it very clear once you get it set up. So anyway.
It's a nice little addition to the way I would usually update content, which I would usually sort of, do the old find what the page is searching for in Google Console, and if it's ranking for a keyword that I'm not really targeting yet, I'll add another little subheading in with that keyword and write about that. And so it's a nice little, that's kind of just working it out on my own. So it's nice to have something that's a bit more concrete in there as well.
Exactly. So with the keyword research, just curious, do you have any sort of approach, or are you? Okay, let's hear about it.
So I am the biggest tight ass when it comes to keyword research. I use either keyword sheeter or keyword shitter, depends what they're using it like. I don't know if it's the same people that run both. I have no idea, but I kind of find one works and one doesn't, and then it'll swap and the other one will work and the other one won't. So I don't know if it's the same people that run it, but you basically put a bunch of STEM keywords in. So it might be best ballpoint pen for, and then I just leave it and it'll give the rest. If you leave it for a while, it'll give you, depending on how many seed keywords you give it, it could be like a couple of thousand keywords. If you leave it for too long, it just scrapes like the entire internet. I think I left it for and had a shower one day and came back and it was like, the suggestions were like Facebook, Google, YouTube, Walmart. And I was like, oh God. So you do all that. I bulk copy it and then I use the keywords everywhere. Chrome extension, I pay for that because that's super cost effective. You can bulk import. So I just copy the whole thing, bulk import, and get all the data from that. And then I'll do some research into what's KGR and what's got a good little, what keyword I think I like. And the more you do it, you kind of don't, you can just do it from the keywords everywhere research as well. Once you've done a few articles and you get some success, you kind of know what works and what doesn't. And then I'll also just write some articles that I think belong on the site as well, without really research.
Okay. Yep. And I think that's pretty common. I'm starting a new site now, and kind of all the stuff that you mentioned, where some low competition stuff is the bulk. There's some that just need to be there. It's a good topic, even though it'll never rank for anything. And then there's some other topics where maybe in 6 months for a brand new site, or a year, or 18 months, that it's going to take a long time to rank. But you may as well have it. Go ahead and get it out there. But that's just a small portion.
Yeah, and that's also for the people that are already on the site as well. Like, if you've got one of those, like a big software review or something like that, that you don't expect to rank for because it's hyper competitive, but that's something you can divert some traffic towards on your own site once they're already in there. I think there's benefit in that as well. Yeah.
Cool. For content tips, because you are a writer and you do it as a side hustle, as part of your profession, do you have any like specific content tips for folks that are maybe struggling with it a little bit?
Yeah. So I keep the intro as short as possible. I'll use the keyword in the intro once, usually use it in a subheading as well. Just have it to be as conversational as possible. I want to give some personality to it. I think if you do that, especially in the intro, the personality needs to be, especially at the start, towards the end. I find if you can throw like a funny little GIF or something in there as well, just something to sort of hook people in. Talk about yourself a little bit when you can. Don't do it too much. And just, I like to have a reader in mind. So almost like a profile of my perfect reader for that website or that article. And I've got these little sort of reader personas and if you like buyer persona sort of things, and I'm writing to that one person, which kind of, in my mind, makes it a lot easier if I'm writing to someone rather than writing to you, the reader, who could be landing on this page. It's just, I find that really impersonal. So if I have someone in mind, I can write to them. For me, it just becomes a lot easier to write.
Okay. And did you just like make up a person? You're like, this is probably the kind of person that would look for this keyword and be interested in the topic? Pretty
much. At the start, I just sort of took a guess. After about 6 months of owning the site, I used the Google Analytics, like user profiles, to see sort of the average range. Like, it's only age and things like that. But I knew, for example, that my website was gearing towards, it was like 25 to 35 year olds. So I was like, cool, I can kind of write to that audience if that's if that's 85% of the people that are visiting my site. I can tweak my language a little bit to suit that.